All right, guys, I want to get this thing going again. I'm going to do a part two to the Davis-Bacon Act and a brief history um, of the African Americans in construction. I'm just going to do this right here, just a tad bit. Oh, man. I think I messed it up here. There we go. Put it right there. And so let me get my little intro going on here. Here we go. Let me see. There we go. All right, so let's look at this right here. I want you guys to hear this. This is Walter Williams and Thomas Sowell. Was talking about this just a little bit more, going a little bit more detail on it.
The minimum wage has been destructive of young people, particularly black youngsters, but yet we're criticized, and the people who support the minimum wage, the intellectuals who support it, are shown to be compassionate and caring.
That's right. In fact, the last year in which black unemployment was lower than white unemployment was the year before the first minimum wage law, which, as you well know, was the Davis-Bacon Act.
Oh yes, and and for those out there who don't know what the Davis-Bacon Act, the Davis-Bacon Act is a law that says that on all federal construction projects, the prevailing wage must be paid, and the prevailing wage is always interpreted, I think illegally, by the Labor Department as being the union wage or higher. And the purpose, actually, Tom, the stated purpose of the Davis-Bacon Act that was written in March 31st in 1931, the stated purpose was to protect white workers, construction workers, from having to compete with lower wage black construction workers.
Oh, absolutely. And very similar things happened in Canada in the 20s when they passed minimum wage laws to keep white workers from having to compete against Japanese workers. And as you also well know, in South Africa earlier in the century.
That's absolutely right. Matter of fact, in South Africa, I wrote a book called South Africa's War Against Capitalism, and I give quotation after quotation of racist unions in South Africa being the major supporters of minimum wage laws for blacks. And matter of fact, they call it the
civilized workers.
Yes, that's absolutely right. And so they recognized that if they could raise the wage, contractors would hire white workers instead of black workers.
Yeah, the minimum wage law is very similar to a tariff on international trade. That is, the purpose of a tariff is to raise your competitors' prices to the point where you price them out of the market. And that's exactly the same thing with the minimum wage. That you raise the price of low wage labor to the point where people won't hire them, and therefore the higher wage laborers benefit.
That's right. And you mean tell me, there are other examples of this, that is American labor unions and as well intellectuals, they support environmental laws in India, environmental laws in many underdeveloped countries. and why? To raise the cost of doing business with them.
Well, yes, and well, of course, they are non-discriminatory. They want to raise these costs everywhere they possibly can. The real problem is that they don't see these things in terms of trade-off. They arbitrarily pick something that they call a good thing, and they pay no attention to the cost of that good thing, either in money or in terms of all the other good things that are going to be harmed by putting in whatever they happen to be in favor of.
All right, guys. So, in a lot of cases, it's the intent. A lot of time the intent of them creating a law to make it appear to help someone. But, we look at the intent, but we have to also look at the effects. What is that law actually doing? I think that's when we need to really go back and revisit that law and make adjustments based on what happens with the effects. Now the intent, we can kind of see. Now this right here in this particular case, I think that the Davis Bacon Act, the minimum wage law, was really to stop the African Americans who were in construction at the time, to get them out of it because they didn't want to compete. The white construction workers didn't want to compete with the African American workers. That law was put in there for that. And I don't think that, that may not be an intent, but sometimes when we look at government things, I had a student that, he was talking about the government kind of came in and increased the wages because, the company wasn't going to pay them, but the government said, hey, you got to pay them this, and whoever it was, they was going to pay them a little bit more. I get it. Sometimes we look at it and it appears to be helping us, but it's not. We got to understand that when you're dealing with a corporation, I got this right here up here. So, a business corporation is organized and carried on primarily for the profit. So the bottom line, a lot of these corporations and companies, they're trying to flip a profit. They don't really, I think they care more about profit than they care about what color somebody is, who they hire. Profit first. We can look at, we can go into all kind of rabbit holes on, like the Negro League and baseball and stuff like that. Why was that ever integrated? These guys wanted to turn profits. So that's what these corporations, that's what's on their mind first. And we can see this right here, guys. It's happening today. I was looking at, so guys, go in there and do a little research on the Davis-Bacon Act. It's 1931. I think we all need to kind of take a look at that. But I was looking at these guys right here. Back in the day, you had, who was this, John D. Rockefeller and Carnegie, and all these guys kind of got together, and they didn't want competition, so they drove the competition out. They drove their competition. Anybody that tried to compete, back in the day, you had a lot of steel companies. You had, you didn't just have U.S. Steel. You had several, mom and pop steel companies. They were all over the place. These guys got tired of competing with them, so the big boys, Carnegie, Rockefeller, Morgan, these guys merged up. And what they would do is they would sell their steel at cost. Not even at, for about 2 or 3 years, not even turning a profit. But by them lowering their steel costs, lowering their product at cost, their competitors who was out there trying to compete with them, they couldn't make any money because everybody would go to them because they were selling theirs at cost. So all of their competitors, 2, 3 years, they were out of business. They gave it up. They didn't want to do it anymore. And so once you got all those guys out of business, these big boys came in and they just bought their companies up. And they were the only guys in town. And when they became the only guys in town, they can bump their costs up whatever they wanted it at. This is what they were doing. And so now you got to go to them because they're the only ones in town. Guys, this is happening right now. But, well, it just happened. If you look at, let me see. Yeah. Let's see. This right here. Yeah, I can't get this thing right. Let's see if I can pull it up. You guys, the immigrants. You guys, this happened right here in the United States. 20, 30 years ago, a lot of immigrants came here. They were seeking a better way of life. I get it. They came here to the U.S., crossed the border, looking for a better way of life. They were living, a lot of them was living in poverty. They didn't have a lot of debt. The Hispanic population. Nothing wrong with it. Hey guys, they work hard. They do a lot of work that a lot of African Americans and white Americans don't do. Now, but when they came over here, I mean, they didn't have a lot of debt like we had, so they were able to work for lower wages, but they worked, and their prices were low. We was getting labor, and the prices were low. They cut the African Americans, they undercut the African Americans and the white Americans. They were able to get their prices down lower, their labor costs down lower. White Americans and, well, you know, black Americans, they were on a whole nother thing, you know, family and all the other stuff that was going on with them. So they got driven out first, but the white Americans couldn't compete with them, like on framing, drywall, and things like that. Camera's going out. I don't know why this thing does that. It's getting too hot. But I gotta figure that one out. But once all of those guys went out of business, like white Americans and African Americans, they couldn't sustain that no more because they couldn't work for the same wages that the Hispanic Americans were working for, or the Hispanics were working for when they came here. Then they became the only guys in town. So then now, as the contractors are starting to see, this is why we see this uptick in costs, because now those guys, if they're the only guys in town, they can bump their costs up. And that's what they did. So now their costs have went up. And now that increased the cost of houses, along with the suppliers and things like that. And this is what happened, guys. Same thing. Didn't change a bit. You know, so we gotta, you know, competition is sin. This is what these guys have done. They got rid of all the competition. Along in the construction industry right now, you know, you don't see African Americans in the sub trades anymore. You don't see white Americans in the sub trades anymore. Now you see them in the MEPs, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. But now you're starting to see, you know, the Hispanics now. You know, we're looking at second and third generation. They speak really good English. They're able to go down there and take those tests now and get their journeyman cars and get their master cars, and they're able to pull permits. And they're able to speak the language of the people who can do the labor now. I mean, it's a good thing for them, man. I mean, you know, this is where we at. So the African Americans are just straight out the picture when it comes down to construction. I don't even think we have a legacy African American contractor in residential home building here in the Birmingham area. So this is what these guys did, man. It's no different than what they did a long time ago. You know, they had these big monopolies. So this is, I mean, you guys ought to go check these out, the monopolies and stuff like that. You know, also, I was looking at these corporations, guys. When, you know, see, we sit here, we complain and stuff, but these corporations are gonna figure out a way to they're gonna make their money. And if we, you know, and if we're not gonna sit here and work, and we think they need to pay us higher wages. We don't want to work for minimum wage and stuff like that. We want to work for higher wage. This is what the corporations are gonna do, guys. Look at this right here. McDonald's opens an automated restaurant with no workers. The corporations will figure out a way to make money by any means necessary. That's just what they do. So if we don't want to go out there and work, they'll figure it out. They have the money and the resources to do it. Like McDonald's, I mean, think about it, guys. We used to go to McDonald's and you walk in there and somebody used to take your order. You don't do that. You go to a kiosk machine. This is what has happened, guys. I mean, I'm looking at, you know, I don't know if you guys saw this right here. You know, Waffle House employees in South Carolina is going straight. And one of the demands that they made, I don't think I can see it here, they wanted $25 an hour. This is $25 an hour. What do you think this Waffle House is going to do? What do you think the corporate structure of Waffle House is going to do now? They're probably going to cut half the employees. They're going to make Waffle House like this. This is what you're going to have. Because they got to turn that. They're going to turn a profit. They're going to figure that out. Now these guys, those employees who's complaining about this right here, these guys right here, they're not going to have a job. You know, this is where we're going. So I just wanted to kind of add a little bit of that to it. I knew my dog was just not going to let me make a video without him interrupting. I got to figure that one out too. All right, guys, I just wanted to come on here and just do that one right quick. Like, and hey, once again, man, like, share, and subscribe. Let me know some things I need to work on. I'm trying to update my technology here because this is starting to be kind of fun to me, especially doing these little. Really, I need to go. I'm gonna start streaming. Right now, I'm recording because I don't feel real comfortable with the streaming right now. So, you know, I'm just doing it like this right here until I get a chance to. Once I get a little bit better, I can be able to interact. Now I need to get my subscriber basis, guys. You know, go on YouTube, thumbs up, thumbs down. Help my algorithm out. Comment, like, share, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts. And I appreciate you guys for dropping in, taking a look at my videos. And I'm trying to find my outro here. And here we go.